You guys are doing so well. Thank you for being so calm. Ellie, can you wave hi? If you're a psychopath and you want to film in 4K 30, go for it. It's just going to be a harder workflow for you. If you're doing both photography and video in 4K 60, then you not only need the full frame wide angle lens like a Sigma 14 to 24 millimeter f2.8 or something like that, or a Sony 12 to 24 millimeter f4, but then when you do videography in 4K 60, you're going to need something like the Sigma 10 to 18 millimeter f2.8, which is a horrible lens, or maybe I just got a horrible copy because I returned it. And then at that point, it's like, why don't you just buy an FX30? If you're going to, be stuck with a 1.5x crop in 4K 60 anyways, why don't you just get an FX30 if you're just going to use video? But then the FX30 can do photography as well. So you could get the FX30 and have a 10 to 18 millimeter, whatever lens, and do both photography and videography with that one setup. Surprise, surprise, I have another shoot, except this time it's just an aerial shoot, so I am bringing my kids with me in the car. They're taking a nice little vacation day to go to the ocean, capture some aerial photos. It's going to be super quick, super simple, but I thought I'd bring you along for the ride, because not every day is going to be super crazy busy. You're not going to have a crazy amount of shoots going on. You're not going to need to do this or that, but you can make money in other forms. So I don't have to leave my vehicle for today's money-making adventure for $205. I am going to leave my vehicle to place my drone outside, but I'm not going into a house. I'm staying in the car. And that's why I brought my kids with me to get out a little bit, because if I'm just flying my drone, then I don't need to do anything. I don't have to get out. I don't have to leave them by themselves, which would be no bueno. I actually brought them on a shoot the other day with me too, but it was a reshoot where I had to get some additional photos of a living room, and I stopped at the donut shop before. And no, we're not going to the donut shop. I'm sorry, I said the word. I got them donuts, and then I just put on YouTube Kids on my phone, kept the windows down, parked them in the driveway, and did the photos and came back out, and they were completely fine. So they're good kids. They're a lot sometimes, but they're good. I want to do more of these types of just kind of random vlog videos. It's not necessarily like the best quality content, but if you like coming along with what I'm doing, then by all means watch the video. Real estate photography, I wanted to touch on. So in yesterday's video, I talked about cameras that you can totally get by using the Canon M50 for long term. The person who emailed me talking about wanting to use the Lumix S5 2X for his camera, he had another question where, why is the Lumix S5 II and S5 2X not good for real estate photography? Because it'd be good for listing videos, sure, but the Lumix bracketing, it's extremely limited. So to get the same amount of dynamic range, so most cameras take Canon does 2 EV3, Sony can go as high as 1 EV9, but then 2 EV7, I think, and then 2 EV5, 2 EV3, that kind of stuff. The Lumix can only do 1 EV9 to get the same equivalent or a similar amount of 2 EV3, but then you're putting so much more wear on your shutter, and then you have to go through and delete things, so it takes up extra storage. If you're doing manual bracketing, where you take a photo and then you decrease the shutter speed, and then you take another photo and then you increase the shutter speed, and then you take another photo, manually bracketing, then sure, that's fine, but God, that seems like it's just a ginormous waste of effort. That's why the Lumix series cameras aren't fantastic for real estate photography specifically. I mean, they're great cameras, don't get me wrong, but not so much for the automated workflow of real estate photography, because I prioritize speed and efficiency at every corner. So if I can just press a button and have all the photos that I need, then I'm going to absolutely do that. He had another question about the A7 IV, and is the Sony A7 IV the best full frame entry level camera for real estate photography and videography? I don't know why, but I should say yes, but I don't want to. So the Sony A7 IV, great photos, great video, but the 4K 60 has a 1.5x crop, so it's like you're using an APS-C camera. So to do real estate photography and videography, if you need to shoot in 4K 60, which the majority of real estate videos are filmed in 4K 60 because that's the easiest workflow. If you're a psychopath and you want to film in 4K 30, go for it. It's just going to be a harder workflow for you. If you're doing both photography and video in 4K 60, then you not only need the full frame wide angle lens like a Sigma 14 to 24 millimeter f2.8 or something like that, or a Sony 12 to 24 millimeter f4, but then when you do videography in 4K 60, you're going to need something like the Sigma 10 to 18 millimeter f2.8, which is a horrible lens, or maybe I just got a horrible copy because I returned it instantly, or a Sony 10 to 18 millimeter f4. So then you have to use two different lenses to get a similar field of view on the same camera. I don't know. It just, if it could, even if it had like a 1.2x crop in 4K 60, that would be acceptable, because then you could use the same lens but then just sacrifice a little bit more on the wide end. But the 1.5x for, 14 millimeter, what does that become, like a 21 millimeter? So you can't use that for, wide establishing shots in real estate. So my question for him and my question for you, if you are like adamant about wanting to get a full frame camera, is why? Why do you need a full frame camera? If it's just because you think you need a full frame camera to do real estate photography and videography, then don't get a full frame camera. It's so funny, in yesterday's video, I was literally in this exact same spot on the highway talking about this exact same thing I'm about to say. The only reason I use a full frame Canon 5D Mark III with a 12 to 24 millimeter Sigma is because the average property that I shoot is small. It's like 900 square feet. So your use case will determine much more what gear you get versus just deciding that you want a full frame camera. That's not how it works. Each camera has its own specific use case, where field of view wise, you could get a Lumix GH5 Mark II. I take it back about the Lumix, because the Lumix GH5 bracketing is good. It's just something specific about the S5 II that it can't do. When I was looking it up, it can't do the correct bracketing, but Lumix GH5 can. Because I had a GH5 Mark II paired with a Panasonic Leica 8 to 18 millimeter, so that's a 16 millimeter full frame equivalent, and that's a 10-bit 4K 60 uncropped great camera. I highly recommend the Lumix GH5 Mark II. They can be had for like $900 now, super cheap. The lenses are also, relatively cheap, all things considered. I think the Panasonic Leica 8 to 18 now, it's an f2.8 to f4 lens, which is pretty interesting, but still really good quality. I think that's only like $600 now. So when I was playing with it last year or over a year ago, I think the camera itself was $1,500, and then the lens was another $900. I ended up returning everything because I was just trying it out, and I don't know why I didn't stick with it. Because it was a good lens and camera combination. So I wish I could remember why I decided not to. I'm always buying different gear, man. I waste my money constantly. But Lumix GH5 Mark II, great camera. Lumix S5 II for real estate photography and videography, not so much. If you just got it for video, could be good. I believe the S5 II also has a 1.5x crop. So then you run into the same thing. And then at that point, it's like, why don't you just buy an FX30? If you're gonna, be stuck with a 1.5x crop in 4K 60 anyways, why don't you just get an FX30 if you're just gonna use video? But then the FX30 can do photography as well. So you could get the FX30 and have a 10 to 18 millimeter, whatever lens, and do both photography and videography with that one setup. So that was my answer to him. Is there any reason you're going after using a full frame specifically? Because you don't have to. And I haven't heard back from him yet. He'll message me. People are hitting me up on Instagram, which is really interesting. So, all right. God, really? I'm still 13 minutes away from this place? That's crazy. I feel like I've been talking forever. You guys are doing so well. Thank you for being so calm. Ellie, can you wave hi? Yeah. All right. Well, talk some more once I'm done with this shoot, or once we get to the shoot, or I don't know. All right, so that is the aerial shoot complete. I hope you enjoyed seeing some of that video that I got while I was up there as well. Kids did super good. Ellie, say hi. $205 for doing some aerial photos, chilling in my car. Today is my wife's birthday, so as soon as she gets home from work, we're gonna go out with the family. Not too much crazy stuff going on. I'm sure I'll think of something to talk about because I'm always sure that I can fill in empty space with words. Really the main allure of real estate photography, because I'm trying to demystify and make it real for people, because it seems like it's so much more magical than it actually is. Because once you get into it, the magic kind of wears off and then it just becomes another job. It's something that maybe isn't super exciting anymore. It just becomes like anything else. I think if I really sit down and think about it though, I do really appreciate what I've been able to build because I can work for myself, because I truly would be absolutely miserable if I had to work for anybody else. So being able to do all of this independently is really killer. And I think I should sit and think about that more often and really appreciate where I'm at, because it wasn't easy to build this. It took, it took time, it took effort, it took willpower, strength, it took being broke when I was first starting out because I didn't know what I was doing. So it's totally possible to build this into something that's full-time, like I talked about in the other video. It just takes a little bit of effort to get there. And then if you want, working with someone like me to help guide you along to get there. But I would never call real estate photography hard. The only hard thing is learning the business fundamental skills in order to run it like a business, because anybody can be a photographer. It's just not everybody can run a business. So you have to run it like a business. I could care less that I'm a real estate photographer, and any business that I'd be running, I'd still run it like a business. It just so happens that I'm running a real estate photography business. I uploaded a video today, which will be yesterday for you, or maybe 2 days before. I don't know what my upload schedule is going to be, about the 3 best methods of client acquisition. So I hope you watched that. If you didn't, you can find a link to just up here somewhere. But if you're wanting to start a real estate photography business, you need a good camera, you need a good lens. Like, there's not much gear that you need. You need a good camera, good lens, good tripod, good ball head or geared head, which I recommend a ball head unless you want to spend a lot of money for no reason. A drone with 360 camera, and then if you're going to do listing videos with your camera, you need a good camera, or you can just use your phone if you have something like a newer iPhone. So it's not much that you need. It is an upfront cost. It takes a couple $1,000s to get there, but once you get there, you have everything you need. And unless something breaks, you won't really have to do anything else. Like you won't have to replace that piece of gear with anything unless it breaks. So the upfront cost seems a little bit heavy, but if you think about like the return on investment that you get with something like a 360 camera, I bought my Ricoh Theta Z1 bundled together with a Ricoh Theta SC2 in 2020 for $750 total. So, I mean, once you buy the piece of gear, it's like, of course it's going to keep making you money forever. So, hey, please stop. But my kids are getting antsy, so I'll let you go. That's going to be it for this video. I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.